You hear it? The silence between the stars is not empty. It remembers. It remembers the children of the Emperor, whose names were erased before the first warp storms tore the heavens apart, the 2nd and 11th Primarchs. Lost among whispers, erased from the annals of men, yet their shadows linger in every throne world, every shattered fortress, every blood-soaked planet of the Imperium. This is a record of what was never meant to be remembered. A truth the galaxy cannot bear, and yet here it resurfaces. In the shattered vaults of Terra, beneath the gaze of the Emperor's eternal golden throne, whispers claw through the dust. Ancient scribes speak of the 2nd and 11th, whose legions vanished before the Great Crusade could crown their glory. Where others marched, their banners never flew. Where others conquered, their echoes remained hollow. Some say the 2nd Primarch led his sons into the void between realities, seeking knowledge forbidden even to the Emperor. Others whisper that the 11th betrayed all, yet his purpose was hidden beneath layers of falsehoods and obliterated records. The archives of the Adeptus Administratum conceal files marked with the X of impossibility, files burned and buried beneath 10 millennia of bureaucracy, leaving only hints, riddles, and an annoying sense of unease. On worlds where the warp twists into impossible geometries, the remnants of these lost legions are sometimes glimpsed. Ghostly banners drift across dead skies, banners that carry the sigils of brothers who should not exist. Survivors speak in tongues of strange obedience, of martial precision beyond comprehension, of doctrines alien to the Codex Astartes, yet horrifyingly effective. Their victories were swift, their presence ephemeral. The Imperium could neither track nor understand them. Even the Custodes, whose sight pierces the warp and the lies of men, have left records with ellipses, unsure if the 2nd and 11th served the Emperor or some other cosmic arbiter of fate. Yet the war they waged echoes still, a quiet madness beneath the roar of familiar battles. Some scholars theorize that the 2nd Primarch sought to perfect loyalty in its purest, most terrifying form. His sons were said to operate in absolute silence, executing orders that were never given aloud. Worlds vanished into the void, leaving nothing but scorched stone and whispers in the warp. There is no record of rebellion among them, no trace of disobedience, only meticulous, relentless action. The Emperor's design, it seems, was mirrored in them, yet they were not celebrated in the annals of history. Some even suggest their absence was deliberate, a shadow over the Great Crusade, a silent reminder that perfection can only exist outside human memory. The 11th, in contrast, is shrouded in rumors of defiance. Fragmented transmissions hint at a Primarch who questioned the very mechanics of the Emperor's plan, a mind unbound by the standard framework of loyalty or ambition. His legion, if it ever marched as a legion, may have fractured or perhaps scattered into the void of the warp itself. Some imperial theologians claim that the 11th's actions inadvertently preserved the Imperium by delaying some cataclysm no mortal could yet comprehend. Others warn that his intentions were darker still, an architect of disaster whose designs remain hidden in the fabric of reality, the consequences of which may yet unfold. Even today, murmurs of forbidden rites on dead worlds are attributed to his unseen hand. The Adeptus Mechanicus has discovered ruins that defy conventional history, forge worlds etched with runes that predate the known history of humanity, showing an influence unmistakably Xenos, yet strangely harmonious with Imperial technology. Some archaeologists posit that these ruins are the work of the 2nd or 11th legions, their knowledge so advanced that it appears alien. Data slates, incomprehensible in code and structure, bear warnings. Do not awaken. Do not follow. And yet, every generation of tech priests feels the pull of understanding, the promise that forbidden knowledge might bring dominion over death itself. Only madness waits for those who seek it. The pattern is always the same. Those who search too deeply vanish, leaving only the faint scent of ozone and blood. Legends tell of battles recorded only in the psyche of warp-touched psychers. Entire skirmishes exist only as visions, where impossible geometries and uncountable forces clash with silence as their only witness. There, the 2nd and 11th are seen together and apart, sometimes allies, sometimes adversaries, a duality unresolved. Psychers who survive such glimpses return with trembling lips, speaking of fear that is not of men but of memory itself, as though reality recoiled from their actions. These battles defy known history, yet their outcomes ripple subtly through the wars of known space, tipping scales invisibly. Perhaps that is why the Imperium's historians record nothing. The galaxy itself resists acknowledgement, preserving the lie to protect the living from the truth. In certain sectors, the remnants of these legions are said to influence events even now. Systems collapse or rise inexplicably. Entire fleets vanish in warp storms that obey no natural law. Those who investigate swear that a presence guides the outcomes, deliberate yet unseen, righteous yet unknowable. Cults have formed around dreams of the lost Primarchs, though these cults are fragmented, each with its own interpretation of loyalty, betrayal, and purpose. The ecclesiarchy condemns them, but the existence of such cults hints at what the archives will not admit. The 2nd and the 11th of may have never truly disappeared, but rather withdrew to shape the galaxy from shadows, unseen architects of fate whose motives remain unreadable. Theories abound that their absence was essential, that the Emperor's design required blank spaces in the tapestry of the Great Crusade, empty threads where chaos could not yet see. Some whispers suggest that their eventual return or discovery could either doom or save the Imperium, though the particulars are lost in the void. The Adeptus Custodes debate endlessly, for even they cannot decipher the timing or purpose of the 2nd and 11th's actions. In all cases, the truth is layered beneath centuries of obfuscation, deliberate erasure, and the quiet panic of men who understand that some knowledge is too vast to survive exposure. Codices burned by orders never signed, dispatches that dissolve in the eyes of the reader, and worlds that vanish before arrival all point to an unbroken chain of secrecy. Those few who have glimpsed the truth speak only in riddles, for language itself bends before it. A 2nd Primarch strike fleet might pass through a system unnoticed, yet every record of it is obliterated. 11th Legion incursion might seed rebellion that never manifests, leaving chaos as the sole legacy. Even the warp-shrouded chronicles of the Inquisition hold fragments too dangerous to compile, leaving only tantalizing echoes in the minds of inquisitors who have seen what cannot exist. Some speculate that the Emperor himself knew the cost of revealing their existence. Perhaps he foresaw the terror of understanding, the dread of knowing that perfection and defiance can coexist outside the control of men, that the warp itself might recognize and obey them. The throne of Terra is vast and golden, but even there, behind the veneer of control, the Emperor may have mourned, not for failure, but for inevitability. For some truths are not meant to be confronted, and some children, however lost, are too potent to recall without consequence. The echoes of war they left are faint, yet persistent. When void storms rattle human settlements, when fleets disappear into the warp with no trace, and when psychers scream of silent commanders leading ghostly formations, the shadow of the lost Primarchs is present. Their stories exist not in books, but in the tremor of fear that humanity calls instinct, the silent warning of forces greater than comprehension. And yet, even now in this telling, one might sense that the record is incomplete, that the final page has been torn away, leaving only the question: were they guardians of mankind or its undoing? A whisper, nearly lost beneath the weight of a galaxy in flames, persists. Somewhere beyond the reach of light and law, a signal calls, faint and deliberate. It is not a call to arms, nor a plea for aid. It is a signature. The 2nd and 11th exist somewhere beyond memory, waiting or watching. And the silence that follows is thick with expectation. What they will do, or what they have already done, is a truth the galaxy will never fully know. Yet the stars themselves remember. The stars themselves seem dimmer in the wake of hidden truths. Across the Imperium, the faithful tremble, sensing unease they cannot name. In the chapels of war-torn worlds, priests whisper of the vanished Primarchs, though their words are laced with dread, not devotion. Candles gutter and fall where hands once prayed. Icons drip molten tears, as though even the sanctified refuse to witness the secrets buried in silence. Among battle-weary warriors, a nameless fear festers, a creeping rot that questions obedience, questions righteousness. Loyalty is no longer a shield, but a mirror revealing fractures, the hidden fissures of doubt. Soldiers speak of orders they did not receive, of strategies that seem designed by a mind beyond the codex, and the very air hums with the suspicion that someone, or something, is guiding the Imperium toward an end that none can name. In the hushed corridors of the Administratum, clerks and scribes stumble upon anomalies, dispatches that contradict history, records that disappear as if consumed by the void itself. Among these fragments, a pattern emerges silent, insidious, like a disease in the warp. Worlds once thought loyal erupt in rebellion. Fleets vanish without trace. Governors act against instinct, against logic, as if compelled by unseen hands. Some whisper of the 2nd and 11th, though caution stifles any attempt to speak openly. To acknowledge them is heresy, yet the signs are undeniable. And in those who dare to look too closely, minds fracture, leaving hollow shells haunted by visions of what should not exist. Faith, once a bulwark against the galaxy's madness, now trembles like smoke in a storm. On battlefields soaked with centuries of blood, warriors report shadows moving apart from their own forces. Men swear that banners shift of their own accord, that formations alter subtly yet decisively, guided by unseen strategy. Some claim glimpses of figures cloaked in impossible light, neither of the Imperium nor wholly alien, whose eyes burn with comprehension no human could survive. Chaplains struggle to reconcile these phenomena with the Emperor's word. Rituals fail, prayers are deflected by the warp, and faith begins to splinter into pieces. It is in this space between devotion and doubt that whispers of treachery thrive. Those who question openly are silenced swiftly, yet the suspicion lingers, a specter on every bridge, in every throne room, in every cathedral whose spires pierce the black. Amidst political corridors and imperial councils, shadows grow long. Lords and governors maneuver in a dance of secrecy, exploiting unrest without knowing the architect behind it. Factions form and dissolve overnight. Alliances are forged in the blind hope of survival. Some whisper that a hidden hand orchestrates the chaos, the influence of the lost Primarchs, or a heresy so ancient it predates the Great Crusade. The Inquisition probes with unyielding rigor, yet even their sight fails to penetrate the pattern. Every investigation spirals into contradiction. Every confession leads to more questions. Among the faithful, doubt grows like a cancer. How can loyalty survive when the rules of reality are mutable? How can righteousness endure when the Emperor's own intentions seem shadowed by forces unseen? On forgotten frontier worlds, the remnants of the Adeptus Astartes, those who survived centuries of war, speak in hushed tones of anomalies in their own chapters. Tactics they executed flawlessly now feel foreign, as though guided by a memory that is not theirs. Weapons hum with resonance unknown to their artificers. Armor adapts without instruction. Some veterans claim visions of two figures, indistinct yet commanding, that shape the battlefield before them. They do not strike directly, yet every engagement is skewed by their presence. Even the most loyal brothers wrestle with the horror that obedience alone may not protect the Imperium. In whispered tones, some admit that perfection is a curse, that the shadow of the lost Primarchs is not salvation, but an abyss into which the galaxy teeters, inch by trembling inch. Amid the hallowed halls of the Adeptus Mechanicus, the discovery of strange cogitators and alien schematics heightens the unease. Tech priests debate whether these devices are divine gifts or traps from a mind beyond comprehension. The 2nd and 11th are invoked in cautious conjecture, their names like sparks against the dark fabric of accepted doctrine. Mechanicum scholars debate endlessly, yet their conclusions are haunted by annoying intuition. Some knowledge is meant to remain forbidden. Rituals intended to unlock secrets yield only maddening anomalies, circuits that rewrite themselves, and logic that loops infinitely. Some acolytes disappear, leaving behind only the lingering smell of ozone and burned flesh. The cathedral forges themselves hum differently when touched by this knowledge, as though machinery senses the presence of the lost. And in the midst of all this, a silent question rises: is this creation or prelude to annihilation? In the warp-touched corridors of Psyker's sanctums, visions unfold that terrify even the most resilient minds. Shards of memory show glimpses of betrayal, not in the form of battle, but in the fracture of belief. Priests confess dreams where the Emperor's light falters, replaced by hands unseen, guiding humanity's fate toward a horizon that is neither salvation nor damnation. Some visions suggest complicity between the 2nd and 11th, an alliance whose purpose defies comprehension. Others hint at conflict, subtle yet devastating, where loyalty itself becomes a weapon turned inward. Those who witness these phantasms return forever changed, their eyes hollow, their faith a brittle veneer. And in every whisper, the same truth pulses. The Imperium's righteousness may be a construct, fragile and malleable, and the foundations of loyalty tremble beneath the weight of forces humanity cannot name. In cathedral worlds where political and spiritual authority intertwine, priests and lords alike begin to see omens. Relics behave unpredictably, icons cry tears of molten gold, and sermons provoke visions that challenge perception itself. Debate fractures councils, and whispered accusations of heresy proliferate. Some believe that the 2nd and 11th manipulate these omens, shaping devotion like clay, molding obedience to a purpose hidden behind cosmic veils. Others suspect that the warp itself has learned from them, twisting faith and fear into a weapon whose direction is unknowable. Among the populace, the slow rot of doubt spreads, leaving riots, silent prayers, and sudden disappearances. It becomes clear that the struggle is no longer physical, but existential. The battle for belief, for the right to understand, may be the most perilous war the galaxy has yet endured. In the void between stars, isolated fleets encounter anomalies that defy navigation. Entire squadrons vanish into corridors of light that appear, shift, and collapse like the mind of a mad god. Reports hint at coordination beyond human capacity, as if a guiding intellect hidden, precise, immutable manipulates events to a purpose unfathomable to mortals. Commanders doubt their own judgment. Captains hesitate at orders that once required no thought. And always, faint signals pulse across the void, encrypted in patterns older than the Emperor's design. Some whisper that the 2nd and 11th are testing, observing, preparing for something beyond comprehension. Among those who survive these encounters, the knowledge leaves a lingering terror. The galaxy is alive with invisible hands, and the future may already be written in lines mortals are not meant to read. In the labyrinthine halls of the Inquisition, revelations pile upon each other like tombstones of reason. Investigators uncover traces of conspiracies, yet they are unable to identify the orchestrators. Evidence appears and evaporates, witness testimony collapses under scrutiny, and entire cells vanish without trace. Some inquisitors begin to suspect that the heresy is not external, but intrinsic, a corruption of perception and history itself. The Imperium's laws, the Emperor's edicts, the Codex Astartes, all are potential tools in a grander design no one can perceive. And when confronted with anomalies, the Inquisitors find themselves questioning their own loyalty, to the Emperor, to truth, or to something beyond even the Emperor's will. Within these silent doubts lies the greatest danger, for in the Imperium, even faith misdirected can become a weapon of unimaginable destruction. The whispers of heresy spread quietly through monastic orders and secret sects. On forgotten planets, cults gather to interpret signals no one else can read. Ancient texts, thought lost, surface in fragmentary form. suggesting that the 2nd and 11th might have sown seeds of rebellion, not through overt action, but by shaping perception, by bending loyalty into a weapon neither for nor against the Emperor. Some believe the cults are guided by these invisible hands. Others think they act in ignorance, yet the effect is identical. Faith, once a constant, becomes mutable, like molten metal, shaped by unseen forces. And always the question remains, if belief itself can be manipulated, what is loyalty? If righteousness can be guided by shadows, what is sin? These are questions the galaxy is not ready to answer, yet the void demands a reckoning. The Imperium trembles as a single revelation shatters certainty. On a remote world, an inquisitorial expedition uncovers a chamber untouched by time. There, in crystalline silence, the evidence of the 2nd and 11th's intent is laid bare. Artifacts, schematics, and inscriptions that suggest allegiance to neither the Emperor nor chaos, but to a design beyond human comprehension. The very air hums with forbidden's resonance, and the psychers who enter collapse, their minds assaulted by impossible cognition. A lone acolyte survives, clutching a fragment of understanding that is both revelation and terror. He whispers one name, and it chills all who hear it. The galaxy has glimpsed the edge of a truth not meant for mortals. And in that whisper, certainty dies. The war may have already been decided, long before the first blade fell, and the hand of the lost Primarchs guides the outcome still. Beneath the dying glare of a crimson star, a lone chaplain kneels among the shattered hull of a battle cruiser. The incense of burned faith clings to his armor, thick and suffocating. He prays to an emperor who feels impossibly distant, a god whose light flickers across a galaxy, crumbling beneath its own devotion. His hands tremble over relics that once inspired awe, now cold and alien. Around him, the crew whispers of things seen and unsaid, formations that shifted without command, voices echoing across voids, shadows that moved as though alive. Loyalty has become a question, righteousness a frail concept. He confesses silently, as if the star itself might hear, that fear now guides his faith, and perhaps that is all he can offer the Imperium. A prayer for understanding in a galaxy that does not answer. On worlds scarred by centuries of war, priests struggle to reconcile doctrine with reality. Cathedrals crumble as if weary of bearing witness, and icons drip blackened oil. Faithful soldiers collapse, their psyches unraveling in visions that show battles that never occurred, legions that should not exist. Among them, whispers speak of the lost Primarchs as architects of these illusions, yet no one can claim knowledge, only intuition. Debate fractures councils and sermon halls. The righteous argue with desperation, accusing each other of heresy. And in the silence between accusations, the warp hums a quiet, insidious tune, bending minds toward fear and doubt. These fractures are not temporary. They are the bones of the galaxy itself being remade, hollowed from the inside, and those who witness it know that loyalty now requires more than obedience. It requires survival in the face of truth too vast to name. In the void between collapsing stars, fleets maneuver under guidance unseen. Admirals swear orders they did not give. Captains claim maneuvers beyond comprehension. Some vessels vanish entirely, only to reappear with crews transformed, faces drawn with comprehension too heavy for human minds. The warp itself seems to pulse with awareness, reshaping light and space around these fleets. Psychers aboard report visions of two figures walking across stellar planes, their steps bending the fabric of reality. One is calm, precise, and terrifyingly absolute. The other shifts in form, suggesting duplicity or duality beyond mortal understanding. To gaze upon them is to confront the fragility of human cognition. Orders are followed, battles are won, yet the victories feel wrong, as if the galaxy itself resists being understood. Those who survive carry knowledge that cannot be spoken, only trembled at in silent confession. On a frontier world bathed in eternal night, a governor confesses to an inquisitor that obedience has become a lie. Laws and codes mean nothing when the forces that govern events are invisible and immutable. Soldiers speak of commands that contradict themselves, of victories that seem preordained, and of horrors that rewrite their memories. Some believe the second and 11th act not as heroes or villains, but as custodians of inevitability, shaping events with a precision beyond mortal comprehension. Inquisitors record the testimony, knowing each word is a trap on their mind, a puzzle they may never solve. Faith decays, not through malice but through revelation, understanding too profound to survive intact. And as the Inquisitor leaves, a silent tremor passes through the planet, felt not by bodies, but by the marrow of belief itself, whispering that the galaxy's story has been written long before the first scream of war. In the halls of the shattered Imperial fortress, veterans recount impossible battles. They speak of legions that vanish and reappear in configurations that defy all tactics, of weapons that resonate with cognition rather than technology, of commanders who issue no orders yet the army moves as one. Chaplains struggle to bless formations that bend under the invisible hand of a lost Primarch. Faith is no longer a shield. It is an anchor dragging men toward madness. Priests of different orders argue quietly, recognizing fragments of truth in each other's heresy, yet unable to reconcile it. The line between obedience and manipulation is gone. Every act of loyalty is tinged with doubt, every victory with suspicion. And somewhere deep within the fortress, a hidden chamber hums with energy older than the Imperium itself, suggesting that the architects of these events have left more than memory, they have left design. Amid the forges of a mechanicus world, strange cogitators pulse with alien logic. Artificers whisper of circuits that rewrite themselves, of designs that anticipate their thought, of relics that shift subtly when unobserved. Acolytes vanish, leaving nothing but echoes in the data streams, as if absorbed into the system itself. Debate erupts. Are these remnants of the 2nd and 11th, or evidence of something older still? Scholars who attempt to analyze the phenomena are left staring into voids of understanding, where comprehension becomes pain. The forges themselves seem alive, responding to a will neither machine nor flesh can claim. And beneath the hum of energy, a message pulses faintly, too advanced to decode yet undeniable. A signature older than the Emperor, hinting that the galaxy's trajectory has been guided long before man learned to write his own history. In psychosanctums across the galaxy, visions intensify. Apprentices and masters alike see fractured events, legions moving through impossible angles of space, stars collapsing and reforming as if reality itself is pliable. Some psychers glimpse the two lost Primarchs acting in unison, sometimes at odds, as if experimenting with fate itself. These visions leave bodies trembling and minds fractured. Those who survive struggle to articulate what they have seen. They confess quietly, under the eyes of superiors and inquisitors, that the warp seems to obey them. Faith becomes a fragile scaffold holding against a storm of revelation too vast for mortals. And when a voice from the void speaks directly into a mind, not as command but as understanding, it reveals the terrifying possibility. The galaxy has never been in control, and perhaps never was meant to be. Across cathedral worlds, omens manifest with increasing intensity. Icons bleed molten oil, bells ring in impossible harmonics, and sermons provoke visions that twist doctrine into unrecognizable forms. Hierarchs argue and threaten one another, yet no consensus can form. Some claim the 2nd and 11th influence these signs, shaping devotion like clay. Others fear the warp itself has learned from them. Cults form and dissolve in hours, each convinced of insight, yet all manipulated by forces unseen. Faith becomes mutable, a tool of perception rather than truth. Soldiers and priests alike begin to recognize that obedience is insufficient, that belief can be a weapon turned against them. In the shadow of crumbling cathedrals, the realization emerges. The Imperium is not merely threatened, it is a constructive design, fragile, mutable, and observed. In the void between dying systems, fleets confront phenomena that defy navigation. Light bends in impossible angles, stars vanish and reappear, and warp storms obey an intelligence no human can name. Captains hesitate as orders manifest in contradiction, their instincts betrayed. Psychers scream of two figures walking across stellar planes, shaping events without exertion. Fleets obey or collapse according to signals none can perceive. Some believe this to be the lost Primarchs. Others whisper of something older, something that predates the Emperor himself. Survivors carry the knowledge like a disease, impossible comprehension that cannot be shared. And in the silence between stellar explosions, one thought becomes undeniable. The galaxy is alive with unseen hands, and every choice, every action, has been guided since before the first empire rose. Within the labyrinthine archives of the Inquisition, new fragments are uncovered. Evidence points to heresy not as rebellion, but as orchestration, a weaving of history, belief, and action over millennia. Inquisitors realize that the Imperium may have been manipulated, not by mortals, but by forces that regard time and faith as tools. Records vanish, witnesses die or forget, and patterns emerge across centuries. The second and the 11th of may be only part of this grand design. Their actions a test, a proof, or a prelude. Among the Inquisitors, doubt festers. Loyalty becomes a philosophical torment. They begin to understand that the war they wage is not merely against enemies, but against fate itself. And the revelation fractures the mind. All certainty may be a lie, and all righteousness a shadow. On a hidden world, an exploratory expedition uncovers the ultimate trace. A chamber carved into living stone, etched with symbols older than the Emperor, resonating with incomprehensible energy. Within, the echoes of the second and 11th mingle with the architecture itself, suggesting intent, design, and inevitability. Those who enter are overwhelmed by visions of creation's bones, of war and order as instruments of something beyond morality. A lone survivor emerges, altered, whispering truths that cannot be spoken. He speaks of choice as illusion, of loyalty as a pattern, of destiny carved into the fabric of the galaxy. As he collapses, the ground trembles and a pulse radiates outward. The galaxy itself has shifted in recognition. The lost Primarchs, or what they served, have altered everything. And in that moment, understanding becomes terror, and the galaxy waits for the next movement in a game whose rules no one alive can know. The void trembles as fleets approach dying systems, their sensors struggling to comprehend light bent by forces older than the Imperium itself. Commanders clutch their relics in prayers, but faith feels brittle, insufficient against the knowledge pressing on their minds. Each decision echoes across uncountable worlds, each hesitation a seed of ruin. Marines whisper of formations that shift as though alive, guided by hands unseen, shaping victory and death alike. The scent of ozone and burning metal fills corridors, while unseen currents pull fleets along paths they neither command nor understand. In these silent voids, officers and soldiers alike confront a paradox. Their loyalty is absolute, yet meaningless. Their obedience flawless, yet undone. Every heart beats in rhythm with a galaxy whose rules no longer belong to humanity, where devotion carries the weight not of honor, but of inevitability, and every prayer is swallowed by the dark. On war-scarred planets, survivors stagger through rubble beneath skies blackened by orbital bombardment. They carry the dead in silence, speak to the lost in whispered memory, and pray with a desperation that has forgotten hope. Chaplains confess sins not their own, while soldiers recount deeds they cannot remember committing, as though some invisible hand writes history in real time. The landscape bears the scars of both loyalty and betrayal, and every crater is a testament to choices that could not be undone. Civilians hide, trembling beneath the shadow of legions that march without pause, their banners unseen, their orders unspoken. Faith, once a shield against despair, fractures into shards. Obedience itself becomes a haunting. And in the distant light of dying suns, the first whispers arrive. The galaxy is watching, judging, and reshaping itself around acts no mortal can comprehend. Within cathedrals abandoned by time, priests light candles over crypts of ancestors who served faithfully through centuries of war. They speak of the lost Primarchs in tones of dread, reciting names that shatter memory and reason. Icons bleed molten gold. The air vibrates with static resonance. Prophecies surface, fragments of visions once deemed heretical, now undeniable. Some priests fall to their knees, confessing sins they do not recall committing, while others scream at an emperor who cannot answer. The cathedral walls hum with energy older than creation, bending perception, twisting faith into a fragile scaffold. Outside, war rages unceasingly, yet inside, silence becomes a predator, stalking the souls of those who dare witness it. Even in the stillness, a distant pulse shakes the foundations of belief, reminding all who remain that loyalty and righteousness are instruments in a game whose scale and stakes no human mind can grasp. Amid orbiting dreadnoughts, fleets brace for engagement with foes that defy identification. Tactical projections collapse under the weight of impossible variables. Captains hesitate, aware that orders given or ignored yield identical outcomes. Psychers aboard tremble as visions overlay reality. Worlds burn in anticipation, yet the flames follow a pattern that no mortal hand controls. Space becomes a canvas, painted by forces unseen, every maneuver preordained yet appearing chaotic. Veterans remember campaigns in which they fought unknowable enemies, guided by invisible hands. They understand with suffocating clarity that victory or defeat is irrelevant. The galaxy itself obeys a design beyond comprehension. And yet, despite this knowledge, they march, fire, and bleed. For action is all that remains in a universe where choice is an illusion, and devotion, however broken, is the only armor against the relentless entropy of truth. On hidden frontier worlds, the air thickens with the smell of ozone and death. Soldiers whisper of formations that obey no captain, of artillery that fires before commands are given, of signals that transmit across space-time with no known origin. The warp stirs in response, waves of psychic resonance bending cognition and memory. Chaplains attempt to sanctify the ground, but their rites twist, folding upon themselves like origami of faith. Civilians speak of glimpses of the lost Primarchs as living shadows, sometimes saviors, sometimes executioners. Doubt spreads faster than infection. Obedience becomes a torment. Even loyalty, the one constant of the Imperium, falters. And above all, a slow, grinding realization emerges. The galaxy is reshaping itself in response to acts that have yet to occur, consequences that precede action, and sins that will be remembered before they are committed. Within the forges of the Mechanicus, devices pulse with life. Artificers witness circuits that rewrite themselves, machinery that adapts without instruction, and data slates that speak in languages not yet known. Scholars vanish, absorbed into networks older than recorded history, leaving whispers of knowledge that could drive any mortal mind to ruin. Worshippers of the Omnicia confess that these machines seem guided by entities neither human nor divine. Even the most devout sense that the laws of creation themselves bend here, that logic and faith are subservient to forces older than the Emperor's vision. In this crucible, the boundary between devotion and understanding collapses. Every act of construction becomes an act of surrender, every ritual a negotiation with forces beyond perception. And in the deepest sanctum, energy hums like a heartbeat, counting down to something inevitable, though no mortal can guess its arrival. Among psychers, visions intensify into psychic storms. Apprentices clutch at mentors who cannot protect them. Masters weep as the warp reveals shapes and patterns beyond reckoning. The two lost Primarchs emerge in these visions, simultaneously guiding and obstructing, their intentions inscrutable. Worlds appear and vanish, stars collapse, fleets shift trajectories mid-battle, all under their distant gaze. Minds break, and those who endure carry fragments of understanding too dangerous to speak aloud. Some whisper that reality itself is their weapon, and that obedience and rebellion are merely variables in a design incomprehensible to flesh. Quiet terror replaces faith, yet action remains the only anchor. And as the psychic maelstrom crescendos, a single undeniable truth presses upon the galaxy. The consequences of every betrayal, every prayer unanswered, and every oath broken have already been calculated, and the final reckoning approaches. Across cathedral planets, hierarchs and governors argue, accuse, and betray in rapid succession. Omens manifest violently. Statues shatter, icons bleed, bells toll in dissonance. Loyalty fractures into factions. Devotion mutates into obsession or despair. Priests glimpse fleeting forms of the lost Primarchs, understanding with horror that their designs are embedded not in battle alone, but in the architecture of belief itself. Civilians, soldiers, and nobles alike feel the slow erosion of certainty, as if the galaxy itself tests their resolve. Each act of obedience, every hesitation, every silent prayer ripples outward, reshaping political and spiritual landscapes. Cathedrals burn, not by enemy fire but by invisible hands, shaping events according to laws older than the Codex. Faith is no longer protection. It is evidence, and its decay signals that all who cling to the Emperor's light do so on the edge of oblivion. In the void, fleets approach the brink of annihilation. Light bends unnaturally around them, communications fracture, and ordnance fires seemingly without cause. Admirals sense the presence of two figures orchestrating the cosmos as one might conduct a symphony. Fleets obey or falter, yet even victory feels meaningless. Psychers report visions of stars rearranging, planets tilting, and time folding like paper beneath unseen fingers. Veterans pray silently, understanding that their devotion has been exploited, that obedience is no longer virtue but requirement, and that every choice carries consequences that ripple before and after the act. Silence hangs heavier than death, broken only by distant pulses of energy that resonate across parsecs. The galaxy is poised on a knife's edge, and no mortal can predict which side will fall. The storm has gathered. The hand of fate is ready to strike. On remote, ruined worlds, scattered survivors feel the convergence of history and destiny. Graves of soldiers long dead stir with psychic resonance. Banners shift as though alive. Relics resonate with hidden purpose. Faithful confess sins they never committed, and commanders hesitate as instinct is subverted. Every act is mirrored in invisible corridors of consequence. Civilians whisper of shadowy figures guiding war, some benevolent, some unknowable. Even the most devout warriors sense that loyalty is no longer their own. And in the deepest silence, beneath shattered skies and crumbling cathedrals, a singular thought emerges. The war has already been shaped, the galaxy itself has learned, and the moment of final reckoning approaches with inexorable inevitability. Within the archives of the Inquisition, new fragments reveal patterns that defy comprehension. Heresy is no longer a crime. It is inevitability, embedded in the architecture of time. Records collapse upon observation. Witnesses forget. Conspiracies self-repair across centuries. The 2nd and the 11th of may have been instruments or witnesses to forces that transcend loyalty, devotion, and righteousness. Inquisitors glimpse the design and shudder, realizing that all previous battles, all obedience, all rebellion, have been echoes of choices made long before humanity could perceive them. The galaxy tilts under the weight of understanding. The very structure of existence bends to a plan no mortal can alter. Even the Emperor's will, once absolute, seems subject to a hierarchy of inevitability older than the stars themselves. On a hidden sacred world, explorers uncover the culmination of centuries of hidden design. Crystalline structures resonate with energy, and the lost Primarch's presence is imprinted into the very bones of the planet. Every surface vibrates with intention. Every shadow seems alive with consciousness. Those who enter are overwhelmed. Reality itself bends, and comprehension shatters. A lone survivor emerges, whispering fragments of truth. Loyalty, righteousness, and devotion are instruments in a cosmic equation. The pulse of creation itself beats within these ruins, waiting. And as the galaxy holds its breath, the stars flicker, fleets tremble, and a silent current of energy begins to coalesce, an inexorable motion toward revelation, judgment, and transformation. The storm is no longer gathering. It is ready to strike, and nothing mortal can stand against it. The void ignites. Stars shatter like glass under the weight of unspoken design. Fleets collide not in strategy, but in inevitability. Explosions fracture space itself. Captains shout orders that vanish into nothing, their voices swallowed by currents older than the Imperium. In the warp, screams of psychers echo against impossible geometries. Shadows of the lost Primarchs flicker across command decks, seen by some, denied by all. The galaxy quakes. Even the Emperor's throne shudders in resonance, golden light trembles, and prayers twist into fragmented echoes of themselves. Each battle is not won, nor lost. It is measured. Every soul is accounted for. Marines fight not for glory, but for survival against the fabric of destiny itself. And every step they take shakes the bones of worlds, each choice a ripple in a design that has waited 10 millennia to unfold. On the surface of a shattered fortress world, chaplains wail as legions clash with enemies both mortal and spectral. Armor is torn, banners smolder, and the cries of the faithful pierce the thick, choking air. Soldiers die holding positions they cannot understand, their devotion in active defiance against incomprehensible fate. A commander kneels over the body of a dying subordinate, blood mingling with dust, and confesses sins he cannot name. He looks to the sky, where impossible streaks of light trace the paths of fleets that exist in multiple places at once. Here, in the chaos, faith becomes both shield and burden, guiding men into acts of courage they do not comprehend, forcing them to sacrifice all they are to a galaxy that will remember only the tremor of their obedience. Psychers collapse beneath the psychic storm that pulses across space like a living heart. Minds fracture. Visions unfold simultaneously in past, present, and futures yet unmade. They glimpse the two lost Primarchs standing upon pillars of light and shadow, shaping events as a sculptor shapes clay, neither friend nor foe, yet undeniably divine. The warp bends, a prism of terror and revelation, and even the strongest psychers scream, seeing the galaxy fold under hands they cannot touch. Some die instantly, consumed by knowledge too vast for human perception. Others awaken changed, their voices a chant of horror and awe. Time itself trembles, bending around the convergence. Soldiers, priests, and scholars feel it in their bones. The culmination has arrived, the revelation they have been marching toward, and the universe for a heartbeat becomes a crucible of truth too immense to survive unscathed. In orbit above a dying sun, fleets clash in impossible formations. Void cannons fire into nothing, energy pulses bend along trajectories no mortal can calculate. Admirals weep as fleets vanish mid-battle, only to reappear moments later with crews transformed into instruments of a design older than humanity. The echoes of the lost Primarchs' commands, though spoken by no one guide maneuvers, subvert instinct and reshape strategy into something terrifyingly perfect. Among the surviving officers, a single thought rises unbidden. The war is not theirs to fight, and their victory is not theirs to claim. Every explosion, every boarding action, every sacrifice is part of a pattern older than creation, and the galaxy itself trembles beneath it, aware that the climax is not merely a battle, it is the alignment of destiny and doom, and nothing mortal can intervene. On the ground, amidst fire and ruin, soldiers confront their own mortality. Bullets tear through armor, plasma ignites the air, and screams of the dying blend with the thunder of unseen engines. Chaplains try to sanctify ground that shifts beneath reality itself. The faithful falter, yet continue, carrying the weight of oaths that no longer apply. They march, bleed, and die in patterns dictated by hands they cannot see. Each fallen comrade is a prayer, each act of valor a confession. And in the quiet pauses between destruction, the truth presses close. The galaxy is no longer a theater of mortal struggle, but a stage for forces that are neither compassionate nor cruel, only inevitable. Even in their final moments, the soldiers are participants in a design older than the Emperor's throne. Within a Mechanicus Forge world, machinery groans as if alive. Cogitators hum with alien rhythm, and weapons reshape themselves mid-battle. Tech priests scream as their creations begin to act without instruction, preempting the enemy, obeying unseen commands. Entire manufactorums tremble as energy pulses across the planet, echoing the movements of fleets and legions elsewhere. Some priests fall to their knees, understanding with terror that obedience is no longer to the Omnissiah, but to a will greater, older, and beyond judgment. They see the lost Primarchs in every machine, every pattern of fire, and every pulse of energy. Creation itself has become a battlefield. The world shakes, metal bends, and knowledge presses upon the mind until comprehension becomes agony. And in that moment, the Mechanicus understands a terrible truth. The galaxy, and all that serves it, has been living on the edge of an unseen hand for 10,000 years. Among cathedral ruins, the faithful cry aloud, praying for deliverance that does not come. Icons shatter, bells toll in discord, and molten tears fall from effigies. Priests speak in tongues, confess sins they have yet to commit, and see visions of the lost Primarchs walking among legions like shadows of inevitability. Civilians hide, trembling beneath the weight of power they cannot perceive. In every whispered prayer, every trembling heart, the weight of destiny presses down. Some scream at the Emperor for mercy, some at the Primarchs for judgment, but no answer comes. And in that silence, faith fractures entirely, leaving only the husk of devotion and the tremor of understanding that the galaxy is not shaped by heroes or villains, but by forces so ancient, so absolute, that nothing mortal can alter its course. The battlefield becomes a crucible. Soldiers, psychers, and commanders are drawn into simultaneous confrontation with enemies and themselves. Time fractures. Past and present collide in a dissonance that cannot be parsed. Explosions tear through void and atmosphere, yet the devastation seems choreographed by a hand that counts each death as precisely as a ledger. Loyalty, devotion, and fear are instruments of the pattern, each moment a stroke in a painting too immense to behold. Some die in silence, some in screaming brilliance, and in the chaos there is clarity. The climax is not a battle for territory or survival, but the collision of will and inevitability, a revelation that the universe itself has been preparing for, shaping every choice, every act, and every sacrifice into a design mortals were never meant to grasp. High above, the warp thrums with the weight of revelation. Fleets and legions act as extensions of thought, reality bending beneath their presence. Stars shiver, planets tilt, and the psychic resonance of the lost Primarchs pulses through the minds of all who live. Psychers collapse in waves, visions of impossibility consuming them. Even those untouched by direct warp influence feel the tremor in bone and soul. Some whisper the names of the 2nd and 11th, some speak in tongues, some remain mute. The universe holds its breath as if waiting for a final note, a single movement to tip the scales. And in the anticipation, every living thing feels the weight of choices made across millennia, all leading to this moment when destiny and doom meet, and the galaxy braces for a truth it cannot yet comprehend. On a dying world, survivors cling to crumbling walls. They witness impossible phenomena, legions appearing and vanishing, weapons firing themselves, stars collapsing in perfect sequence. Soldiers drop to their knees, confess sins not yet committed, and pray to a God whose face they cannot imagine. Leaders shout commands into the void. Responses come before the words are spoken. The very air thrums with inevitability. And in that moment, one thought crystallizes in every mind. All they have done, all they have believed, all they have suffered, has led to this confluence of revelation and destruction. The galaxy is poised, every atom aligned for a truth so immense that survival or understanding may no longer matter. Only the tremor remains a heartbeat in the fabric of everything. At the heart of the convergence, The lost Primarchs manifest fully, their forms impossible, simultaneously commanding and observing, shaping both matter and thought. Their presence bends light, time, and belief. Fleets move as extensions of their will. Legions obey instinct and intuition, yet every act is preordained. The Emperor's throne resonates, golden light fractured across infinite timelines. Soldiers, psychers, priests, all tremble under the gaze of beings whose purpose is unknowable. The universe itself seems to pause, waiting for the signal that will define what is to be, what is to survive, and what is to be erased. In this moment, comprehension fractures, courage becomes ritual, devotion becomes terror, and all who witness it understand. The climax has arrived, but its final note is yet to sound. The storm peaks. Stars die, fleets vanish, psychic screams rattle the bones of worlds. Reality warps. Death and survival are instruments of calculation. Time fractures, bleeding past, present, and futures together. Soldiers fall, and yet rise again, shadows of themselves, participating in a design beyond comprehension. Psychers convulse, seeing the tapestry of existence woven and unweaving simultaneously. Chaplains whisper prayers that return as questions. And in the silence between screams, a pulse begins, calm, inexorable, deliberate. A signal that the universe has shifted, an alignment older than the Emperor, older than creation, waiting for a final stroke. All tremble. All wait. The edge of revelation hovers above the galaxy, a blade poised, and in that moment, eternity itself seems to hold its breath. The void lies still. Fleets drift as ghosts across the black, their hulls scarred and empty. Stars burn faintly, their light filtered through the debris of forgotten battles. On countless worlds, cathedrals stand hollowed, their spires shattered, icons melted into strange, silent forms. The air smells of ash and incense long spent, and wind stirs dust across streets where warriors once marched. Survivors kneel among the ruin, hands empty, eyes hollow, offering prayers that echo only into silence. Time itself seems to breathe slow, deliberate, as if the galaxy is mourning what has passed. No victory can be claimed. No enemy fully vanquished, only endurance remains. The cost of devotion is counted in absence, in silence, in memory. The whispers of the lost Primarchs linger, unanswered, unresolved, a reminder that some truths exist only as tremors in the heart of the universe. On a frontier world, banners hang tattered, drooping over walls scarred by fire and plasma. Soldiers sleep where they fell, their armor pitted, faces etched with exhaustion, devotion, and disbelief. A lone chaplain moves among them, murmuring rites for the living and the dead alike. Each gesture feels insufficient, a feeble attempt to honor deeds beyond comprehension. The ground bears the weight of sacrifice, every crater a tomb of choice and consequence. Some survivors speak to the stars as if they might answer, others do not speak at all. And above them, faint auroras shimmer across the sky, warped by energies no one can name, coloring night with reminders of forces unseen. The galaxy waits, patient and silent, while mortals tend to the echoes of a war they may never understand. In cathedral ruins, pews splinter under dust, and banners sag where flame failed to reach. Candles gutter weakly, their flames fighting currents of air heavy with ash. Priests trace broken icons with trembling hands, murmuring histories of battles and heresies, of faith tested to breaking. They recall names that may no longer exist, warriors, commanders, psychers, innocents, and feel the weight of eternity pressing against fragile memory. Even the Emperor's light seems dim, distant, filtered through centuries of loss and truth, too vast to bear. Questions rise in whispered prayer. If devotion alone cannot save, what is its purpose? If obedience can serve inevitability, what becomes of morality? No answer comes, only the echo of remembrance, a slow pulse of history resonating across dust, stone, and shattered faith. The silence is thick with the weight of untold stories. Across battlefields scattered like broken constellations, weapons lie cold, still humming faintly with residual energy. Trenches hold the shadows of the dead, and their armor bears the fingerprints of hands no longer alive. Survivors wander silently, stepping over corpses of comrades and enemies alike, a mosaic of sacrifice and ruin. Fires long extinguished leave only smoke and memory. Each step seems to echo across time, reminding the living that the cost of duty is counted in absence. Somewhere a bell tolls, though no one stands to ring it. The galaxy exhales. Every whispered command, every prayer, every act of courage or despair leaves a mark, a faint vibration that persists beyond flesh. And in the quiet, one asks again, softly, a question too heavy for mortal minds. Can faith survive when truth itself is fractured? The Mechanicus forges stand silent. Cogitators rest cold, their circuits blinking weakly like dying stars. Machines built to create now lie abandoned, half-formed, haunted by the resonance of the energy that shaped fleets, legions, and stars themselves. Artificers wander among the remnants, hands brushing cold metal, mouths murmuring prayers of understanding that yield nothing but the hum of oblivion. Designs that once bent reality now seem inert, inscriptions of purpose unfulfilled. Even logic feels fragile in the face of what has passed. What was obedience? What was heresy? And what remains when understanding itself fails? The echoes of the lost Primarchs linger in metal and wire, in energy and thought, a reminder that the galaxy remembers deeds mortals may not comprehend, and that some truths will never be spoken aloud. On hidden worlds, psychers kneel beneath alien skies, clutching skulls and relics, whispering the fragments of visions that still haunt their minds. Time folds upon itself, revealing places they have never been, events they cannot fully name, consequences of choices made long before birth. Silence presses on their ears, yet in it, faint echoes of the lost Primarchs, of inevitability, linger like faint perfume. The psychic storms have passed, leaving only tremors that shape memory and understanding alike. In whispered tones, they ask what it means to survive when survival itself was orchestrated, and what it means to endure when the fabric of fate has been rewritten by hands unseen. Even the bravest admit, in fragments of thought, that comprehension may no longer belong to the living. In ruined cathedrals, sunlight filters through shattered stained glass, painting mosaics of red, gold, and violet across dust and ruin. The echoes of hymns once sung to embolden warriors now drift across empty pews. Priests move slowly, hands raised over the broken, murmuring confessions that may never be heard. Outside, the wind stirs faded banners and scattered relics. Mortals look upward to the heavens, seeking answers in stars dulled by centuries of war. The questions persist. What is faith when the gods themselves seem absent? What is loyalty when the galaxy has been guided by forces beyond comprehension? There is no answer, only the memory of light and shadow, of sacrifice measured in silence, and the knowledge that some truths must remain unspoken. Across the blackened plains of former battlefields, the air smells of ash and ozone, where weapons once sang and men once fell. Craters stand like monuments, jagged teeth of memory biting into earth. Survivors wander, faces drawn with grief and exhaustion. They speak little, for words cannot contain the scope of what was endured. Shadows of the lost Primarchs hang faintly in the mind's eye, never fully present, never fully absent. Every act of courage, every moment of sacrifice, feels like a fragile stone balanced on the edge of a vast precipice. And as night descends, they ask, when the galaxy itself has shifted, when reality bends around inevitability, what remains for those who have survived? What is the purpose of endurance when all else is lost? In orbit, silent fleets drift past shattered moons, hulls scarred with evidence of battles both fought and unmade. Signals pulse faintly, echoes of strategy that may no longer matter. Commanders gaze out into the void, realizing that even victory is a memory reconstructed by forces beyond comprehension. Their hands are empty, their prayers unanswered, their faith stretched thin. And yet, in the quiet, Some whisper gratitude, some whisper despair, some whisper nothing at all. The galaxy has wept, and the echoes of that sorrow ripple across the void. The universe has shifted imperceptibly, leaving a scar of inevitability and wonder. In the silence, one understands that the cost of existence is not victory, not understanding, but bearing witness. On desolate planets, the wind moves across stone and metal like a lament. Soldiers, priests, and civilians alike pause to watch banners droop, fires die, and the last embers of devotion fade into ash. Monuments are fractured, names are forgotten. Victories are meaningless, only the act of memory endures. Some write chronicles, others whisper prayers. Even the Emperor's presence seems dim, filtered through 10 millennia of absence. And yet, in every whisper, there is recognition. The galaxy has been irrevocably changed. Choices, acts of devotion, betrayals, and prayers have reshaped existence itself. One question lingers, unanswerable. When faith is tested beyond reckoning, when destiny is orchestrated by hands unseen, what remains for those who survive to carry? A remembrancer wanders among ruins, penning observations for those who may never read them. Each line trembles with awe, grief, and the weight of centuries. Every observation of broken cathedrals, silent battlefields, and faded banners is a testament to endurance and loss. There is no explanation, only imagery, memory, and the echo of choices too vast to name. Each page is an elegy, a prayer without words. And in the final entry, a single thought lingers: the galaxy is changed. The universe itself has shifted. What survives is not victory, nor understanding, nor faith, but the quiet remembrance of all that was sacrificed and all that cannot be recovered. Beneath fractured stars, survivors and chronicle keepers alike look to the void. Silence dominates. Shadows of the lost Primarchs seem to pass over memory itself. The air hums faintly with echoes of inevitability, leaving all who witness it with the knowledge that the cosmos has been rewritten and that some truths will never be revealed. The last questions hang unanswered. What becomes of loyalty when fate itself guides it? What is the cost of endurance when all else is a lie? And still, mortals continue to watch, to remember, to whisper, and to exist beneath the infinite cathedral of stars, carrying the weight of all that has been and all that cannot be undone. The galaxy exhales, dust drifts through ruined cathedrals. Banners wave faintly in ghostly winds, fires smolder low. Stars pulse slowly in their sockets, indifferent and eternal. And in this silence, one truth persists: the universe has shifted, and something eternal has begun, though its meaning will remain unspoken. Stand witness to it. Remember, observe, reflect, and in that remembrance, honor the sacrifices, the choices, and the faith that endured beyond comprehension. Please like, subscribe, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments below.